All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I thought we were going to have trouble getting in with the rain pouring down, but it stopped just in time. It is about 1 minute past 9 o'clock. Welcome to our Commissioners Court meeting. Today is the 13th of April, 2015, first meeting of the month. Let's begin as we always do. We'll have a prayer and followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we just praise you for a new day and once again for the rain. We just thank you for this group that is gathered here today that is interested in county business and the welfare of the citizens of this community. We just pray, Lord, that you will impart wisdom upon this court, that we would listen carefully to the topics at hand, and we would make decisions that are just right, that are in accordance with your will. Lord, we ask that you would preside over this meeting, that you would guide it according to your will. Once again, we thank you for each person that is here, that there's so many volunteers within our audience. We ask for your blessing upon those organizations. Lord, as we leave here, just take each person home safely. We pray for all of our servicemen and women that are overseas. Please protect them, ultimately bring them home. We pray for this nation, Lord. We pray that we would return and be a nation that is focused on you, that is clearly aware of how this country was first formed, and that we would give the proper recognition to you in everything that we think, say, and do. Once again, we thank you for this day. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to begin with item number 1, public comments and or requests for information on non-agenda items in accordance with section 551.042 of the Texas Open Meetings Act. And if you want to speak, you may speak at this time. You may speak and on one particular agenda item, but we do ask that you register as a speaker, and if you decide something comes up while we're in the meeting and you would like to speak, please help yourself. Come on over here to the table and fill out a form and provide it to the ladies here from the clerk's office so that we have a record of who you are and which item you were speaking on. Before we move into the individual agenda items, come on in, Hut. Let me ask you, is there anybody that has a general topic that they would like to discuss this time? All right. I'll move on to item number 2, consider and possibly approve minutes from our March 23rd, 2015 special meeting of the Commissioners Court. This was our second evening meeting of the month of March.
Judge, I make a motion to approve minutes March 23rd.
Thank you, Commissioner Hinton, for that motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of approval of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3, presentation by Robb Sidebottom with Texas Association of School Boards regarding an opportunity related to purchase of gasoline and diesel. That's right, you heard it correct. Texas Association of School Boards here at a Commissioners Court meeting. And you explained that to me when you came to visit me, and I'm sure you'll explain that to everyone here. The podium is yours, Robb. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Court and Commissioners, Judge Lee, for your time this morning. I had dropped in to pay a visit to Judge Lee just a couple weeks ago to make sure y'all are aware. I assume the Commissioners are familiar with your membership in the TASB Buy Board Cooperative. You guys have a long-standing purchase history with Buy Board for vehicles, and there's a range of thousands of different items that your membership in the cooperative makes available to you and satisfies procurement rules. We can go out to competitive bid products for you in order to make it easier for our cities, county, school district, governmental entity members. In dropping in to see Judge Lee, I wanted to make sure that you were aware we haven't seen any order history or purchasing on the fuel side. And so typically what happens with my members of cities and counties is they will go up for RFP, usually great local partnerships within the community. You'll get a couple respondents at most, sometimes more, sometimes less. I don't know which position y'all are in, but we wanted to make sure you were aware that you do have more choices. On the Buy Board itself, there is already fuel procured, diesel and unleaded gasoline, through Petroleum Traders and Mansfield Oil. I did want to explain that for just a second and then talk briefly about a fixed rate product that I think might be beneficial to you. The way that fuel typically works in most of our communities is that you typically will see delivery from a local vendor. Your history is probably that we purchase from a local vendor, they send their trucks out and fill up when you place an order. Great. 9 times out of 10 in working with TASB's pre-procured product, you don't see any changes. Because what happens, you have a vendor who they don't create the gasoline and then sell it to you. They go out to a station, they fill up, they call a rack or a terminal, and then they bring it to you and they rebill you for it. The way TASB's product works is we essentially negotiate the price on your behalf. We still need the local vendors' support in picking up and delivering to you. And then essentially your bill would just look a little bit different, but 9 times out of 10 you see no change except for the bill. So we did want to make sure you know you have the ability to call and price out Mansfield Oil and Petroleum Traders through your membership with Byboard already. In expanding on that, many of our members over the past few years have come to us. The way TASB works, we are a not-for-profit organization that works on behalf of our members. There's a 43-member board along with some sub-boards, one for Byboard and then some various other functions within TASB. We take your direction every year and you say, this is what we need to accomplish, this is where we need help, you go do it. That's typically the way TASB works. One of those items that was voted on a few years ago and has continued to be reworked year after year is if we can lock in our price of electricity for 3, 4, 5 years, which is a commodity traded on the NYMEX, why can't we do that with fuel and avoid this kind of thing when the market goes up and down? Very difficult for public entities to budget for this. I think a lot of people agree. So about 5 years now, TASB has been providing to its members the ability to lock in and fix your rate per gallon on your gasoline or your diesel in certain situations. It doesn't, first of all, we can't have anything to do with the swipe card purchase of fuel, so you would retain some sort of local relationship for that. And that's because we don't want to have, I believe it's a Series 7 or Series C license. We are not licensed brokers. We are kind of a cooperative middleman, if you will. So that gets a little hairy, and we kind of put that to the side. So any bulk deliveries of tanks that you currently own, we might potentially be able to lock in the price of gallons for you for 12 to 24 months. In speaking with Judge Lee a couple weeks ago, I was just merely looking for some information so that I could run those numbers. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you see no difference. 99 out of 100 times, it's a wonderful program. There are certain instances, for whatever reason it might be, tank size, location of tank, certain delivery companies that TASB has decided not to work with. I don't believe that's the case out here, but in certain situations, it would not fit our members. It would not behoove you to run those routes. But what I would like to do is to run those numbers for you, kind of gather some history and make a few phone calls and get some pricing together to present back to you to see if it will be valuable. Any questions?
Have you had an opportunity to visit with some of our local distributors that would?
We have not. Usually my kicking off point for that is I sent the Judge Lee a document that will allow me to collect a little information. That it essentially asks for your tank addresses, your tank sizes, whether a semi-truck delivery can be made there. And then once I get that information, I start running the numbers. I will reach out to my vendors, Petroleum Traders, Mansfield Oil, and start to gather some pricing and see the way that they deliver fuel. Petroleum Traders and Mansfield do not own fuel delivery vehicles. It's not their business. They trade in futures, more or less. So they have hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles at their disposal in the state of Texas. So when you would call to place an order, they would then send out, essentially they would go to bid every time you place an order, looking for the lowest possible delivery charge for you. Here I'm going to assume there's only 1 or 2 folks that would deliver. That allows me, that once I get that paperwork back, it allows me to go to them and ask if those folks are already in a standing relationship with my vendors. And if not, that's my entry point to reach out, call, sit down with your local folks and see if a partnership would work. Okay. Most of the time it does. There's the way that your local oil folks usually make their money is they purchase a commodity. That's not going to change. That's the price of the rack that whomever purchases is going to pay. They make their money by delivering and storing said fuel in between that rack and their customer, which is you. So 9 times out of 10, it works just fine, but I need to get into it further and see if it works.
Okay.
When you talk about locking in a price, are you talking about locking in the number of cents over whatever the prevailing rate is, or literally locking in a fixed dollar and cents amount for a period of time, say 12 months?
Great question. Way you typically purchase now is Rack Plus. That's or Opus Average Plus, and that floats with the market. That's why you see this. Our TASB members asked us to avoid that. They don't like this. So we're actually able to fix the price per gallon that you will pay for the term of the contract. We don't fix delivery, if you'll remember me mentioning a moment before. The delivery, we essentially bid out delivery. When you see your fuel ordering now, let's just, for easy numbers, say you call and it's $1 a gallon for gasoline. What's typically involved in that $1 a gallon is you'll see, I don't know, 80 cents. That's the commodity price that doesn't change. Then you see 20 cents that is the profit made by any normal business that your delivery folks now make business. That's how they work. You don't ever see that. That's completely inclusive to you now. When we lock in your price, for example, we would be locking in that 80 cents. That would not change even if the market went to $4. You would stay at the 80. Then we would bid out delivery, and those two line items would look separate on your bill. So it would instead of it saying $1 for a gallon of unleaded, it would say 80 cents for a gallon of unleaded and 20 cents for delivery. But to answer your question, we lock in the actual price. A year from now, you would be paying 80 cents for that gallon of gas.
Have you looked at how much fuel we used? Did you look at those records?
I was currently going through that process with Judge Lee. I've sent over a document. There has been some confusion with the vendor in doing these exploratory numbers, and so we're kind of to the point now where we wanted to come share with you the information on the program, and then if y'all are interested in still running those numbers, we'll continue to move forward. We haven't quite gotten that far yet.
What I didn't know from you guys is what percentage of your fuel, if you happen to know, is bought directly at the local pumps versus delivered to your tank and you distribute it, into the individual vehicles yourselves. Because I can't really tell from the information I'm getting from the vendor what's delivered to your tank versus what's bought at the pump.
All of mine is delivered to my tank.
Okay.
Phillips tanks aren't hardly big enough.
Mine, all I have is 550-gallon tanks. The majority of mine is delivered. As far as my off-road diesel for my tractors and stuff like that, I have it delivered out. But as far as the gasoline and stuff like that I use on my gas trucks, I pick it up at the station there at their yard. So I don't have none of that delivered out to the yard.
So all your gasoline purchases are at the pump. All your diesel's coming out of your own tank.
Except for what on-road diesel I'd purchase. I purchase on-road diesel and gasoline at the pump. But as far as anything for my equipment, I have it delivered out there.
If I could throw out as well, the majority of the members that we work with, they do not lock in 100% of their load. So if there is some question or concern as we start to run numbers, they might lock in 50% of the fuel so that they can fix half of their budget and then they float the rest with the market. So we don't have to be spot on. We could even lock in as little as 25% of your gallons so you could test the program and see how it works for the county. And if it works great, you could go up. But we have some of our folks who use 500,000 gallons a year started with 100,000 gallons, and now they're at 500. So I don't work on commission. I'm not here to sell you fuel. I'm here to provide a service. So I would be happy if you're.
Well, for your benefit, like I have 10,000-gallon tanks. I ordered gasoline one time a year. That means I use about 800 gallons a whole year of gasoline. We've got 2 trucks that use gasoline. Everybody else uses, every other vehicle uses diesel. And I don't know about the rest of the precincts, but that's just for your information.
Okay, so all of yours, gasoline or diesel, comes delivered to you and you distribute it out of your tank?
Right. And like I said, gasoline is minor,
Right.
hardly any. One time a year I get gasoline.
But of course, you're providing gas and diesel?
Correct.
Okay. Let's say that we locked in at current prices and the prices started to escalate. I mean, who's bearing that risk? Is it our local guys that you've negotiated prices with?
No, and great question. So the commodity portion is traded on the futures market. If we were to price your diesel today and you were paying $2.25, odds are it's going to look like $2.27, $2.28. It's going to be a couple cents higher because Petroleum Traders is actually purchasing futures. They purchase a piece of paper for every dollar or every gallon of diesel they would eventually deliver, which is why I needed the numbers of how much we would be looking to price out to potentially lock in, because they will, if you say you're locking in 100,000 gallons for the next year, they actually purchase the gasoline in advance in order to satisfy and not break any rules from the Public Funds Investment Act. You don't do that. You purchase the fuel when you need to purchase the fuel. They purchase it in advance. So that they already own the gallon of gas before it's delivered to you. So if it goes up, nobody is bearing any cost. They're just pre-purchasing fuel.
Would you deliver it to us through our local vendors?
9 times out of 10, yes, sir. What we do is, and one of the big questions that we had on the forum is, can those tanks take a semi-truck delivery? If it's a very small tank, that's irrelevant. If it's a slightly larger tank, we ask that because the network might give you more opportunity to save the county money. If you've got one local vendor who delivers now, but we can deliver by semi-truck, that might expand it to 5, and then each time we deliver, we can negotiate the lowest rate on your behalf for delivery. If it's a small tanker, then it would most likely be the same folks y'all have seen. And I'm assuming with the county here that most of the time it's going to be your same local vendor. That's an assumption.
Hey, Tim, where do y'all gas up to the sheriff's department? You go to Jackson to gas up? So I'm going to say most of our gas is used by the sheriff's department.
Okay.
So they're going to go to Jackson Oil now to fill up. So Jackson's going to have that price guaranteed?
No,
No.
they're going to, that's a slight,
Not at the purchase at the pump.
that will remain the same as it's probably always been. TASB is rolling out, for transparency purposes, and I don't mean to speak too much further, we are hoping to roll out in June an OPUS average pricing. Many of our small towns across Texas, we've seen some oil companies that may have negotiated with our clients, our members, a rack plus for the year, but that rack plus doesn't match what the actual price was of the rack. So they might have said, we're giving you rack plus 5. And I'm not saying that's your local vendor, if your local vendor is great, but in some other parts of the state, they might have said, we're going to give you rack plus 5 cents. And then they charge $2.25 for a gallon of diesel. Well, we priced the rack and it was actually $1.98, so it should have been $2.07. So TASB, they've asked us to become as transparent as possible in all of our fuel so that at the end of the day, any of our members can look back and then they can call the rack to the price and then match. So we're hoping to offer a transparent OPUS Plus using the same vendors in June. That might be different, remains to be seen.
Can you tell anything by looking at the figures I've given you if this is going to do us any good? Are you still unsure of
Did you
the...
send those this morning?
No, I had sent these by, it was the same figures I had sent you by scan last week.
Okay, that may have gone to my spam folder. Do you mind if I take a quick look at it?
No? In fact, I'll let you sit down and take a look at it. We're not going to take any action today, but I wanted a presentation from you, and I'll listen to these guys, but after this, I can get with you. I'll send this to you. Maybe you take a look at it and see if there's even an opportunity here for us. I assume there has to be a minimum number of gallons that we negotiate before this is something we can take advantage of, or before it's cost effective.
Yes and no. If y'all were to go out yourself to the vendors that we have procured to fix your rate, they probably would not have the discussion, because each contract sold for fuel on the NYMEX equals 42,000 gallons. So the minimum they can deal with is one contract, and they've set their standards at 2.5 contracts, about 100,000 gallons is the minimum they would entertain discussions. With TASB, we have about 7 million gallons with our members across the state procured at this point. So we could go into a pool or on your individual behalf. There is no worry about that. I have folks who are using 10,000 gallons a year, school districts with very small ADA that are using 10,000 gallons a year. Chances are we'll be able to help if it's something the commissioners and yourself decide.
Okay. I will get this to you later today. I just assumed you had gotten this. Did you not get anything from me?
I got an email from you that you're having trouble breaking them out. I never received an attachment.
Well, it should have been attached to that.
Okay.
I'll make sure that you get this. I don't want to give you this since it's my only copy, but I'll get it to you today and we'll talk on the
I can probably pull
phone.
it out of my spam. I'll look here in a bit and shoot you a note so you don't have to worry about
Okay.
it again. Any other questions?
At this time.
Well, thank you for your continued support of the TASB Board Cooperative, and as always, Judge Lee has my name and number. If you ever need anything, we're here to help.
So just to clarify, anytime we use the term buy board or we decide to make a purchase through the buy board, it's actually under Texas Association of School Boards.
Yes, sir. Wait, it's a nonprofit organization that works under a fund balance type of financial setup. Much like the county, we're only allowed to keep a certain amount of dollars on hand for operating balance for a few months. And then the rest has to be reinvested back into our members. That's why you see rebates coming from the buy board. You purchase enough there throughout the year. We are here to serve you.
Great. Thanks for coming out today. You're free to stick around. You're free to go.
The commissioners have asked for me down in Morris County, so I'm gonna
You need to
head
go
down
do
there.
business. All right. Thanks again,
Thank
Rob.
you.
All right, item number 4, presentation by Michelle Woodruff, CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates. Michelle, the podium is yours. Welcome back.
Thank you. I have to correct my name. I'm just now learning to use it. It's Michelle Coburn. Got married recently, so thank you so much for letting us come and share with you today. Judge Lee and commissioners, we appreciate your time very much. This month is National Child Abuse Awareness Month, the whole month of April, and that's why you see blue ribbons, and we're asking everyone to wear blue ribbons. This dress is very appropriate because it's black and blue, and that's a lot of what we see on a daily basis with our children. For those that don't know, CASA of Titus County Morris County is the 71st program in the state of Texas. And what we do is we serve abused and neglected children through the foster care system and through the court system. A lot of times we just, we take on cases if we're able to, depending on the number of advocates we have. We train, especially train volunteers in order to be able to learn the court system, learn how to advocate for these children, and to stand up for them and give them a voice. We're actually starting a campaign called The Voice for the Voiceless, and you'll see why whenever I give you the numbers for your county. A district judge in your county, and actually that's the way it works in all 3 of our counties right now, may appoint a CASA in place of an attorney whenever a child comes into the foster care system. And that is critical in several reasons, and I'll tell you why. But whenever a CASA is appointed to a case, the specially trained CASA volunteer actually saves the taxpayers money. Whenever an attorney is appointed to an indigent parent or to a child, as you can imagine, someone must pay for that, and we pay for that. So not only does the parent get an attorney, but each child in the foster care system must be appointed an attorney. We take the place of that, and it's called a guardian ad litem. 1 year of CASA advocacy costs less than 1 month in foster care. That's pretty astounding, and I'm sure you've read in Ms. Mars's article that she had recently about the number of our children that are in foster care. It really is a silent epidemic that's going on. So CASA not only saves lives of children, but we also save taxpayers money. On September 1st of 2013, I believe is the last time we had a chance to talk, and that's whenever we started accepting cases in all 3 counties, Titus County and Morris County. I'd like to share with you the service that we've offered to Titus County Children Alone and the difference that CASA has made in your community. We gave 1,040 staff hours to Titus County cases last year, 1,736 volunteer hours. And I know that sounds like not very much for a volunteer, but let me tell you about the intensity of those hours. Our volunteers not only have to go through a 15-page application and screening process, they also have to go through an extensive interview. No one gets in the business of working with abused and neglected children unless they have a cause or a mission. We have to be very careful in who we work with, who we allow to work with our children, because we don't want hurt people hurting other people. So we have to be very, very careful on who we allow to work with them. Then they go through FBI fingerprint checks as well as CPS history checks, sex offender checks. We go through the gamut with them. If they are able to, after the screening process, participate in training, they go through 30 hours of classroom training. It's intensive training on cultural diversity, inclusiveness, child development, as well as how to work with children that are mentally disabled and severely abused and neglected. If they are able to graduate from that, then they actually take an oath by a judge, and they are sworn in not to just see a child every now and then and make sure they're doing okay. They commit to 12 to 18 months with that child or that sibling group. That's how long we have a case for. We have 12 months to find permanency for these children or to find a forever family. I will tell you, a lot of cases recently, we cannot find a forever family in 12 months. What we find is that parents' rights are being terminated because they are not able to readjust, they're not able to parent properly, and we put the children back in harm's way by sending them home. So what we do is terminate parental rights, and then we stay with that child until they find a forever family. I have one success story that just happened just 2 months ago here in Titus County. Casey Cross was the attorney for this child, and I was the guardian and have been for many years. This child came into foster care at the age of 4. She was finally adopted at the age of 9. She had been through horrific placements, and unfortunately, due to against CASA's wishes, she had been through 2 adoptive failures where they actually take you in and say they want to adopt you, and then because of your behaviors, they return you. The rejection is overwhelming. But this beautiful little girl now lives with a family that's Hurricane Katrina evacuees in Texas, and they have an amazing family together. Unfortunately, her brother was not able to be adopted with her. We are still looking for him a forever family. He calls me all the time to ask if Miss Michelle's found him a family yet. Those hours continue to move on because we visit children in their homes, we visit them at school, we visit their doctors, we make sure we talk to their therapist. What could turn into just giving a few hours to volunteer turns into a lifetime commitment to a child because we don't let them go once they're adopted. They continue to keep in touch with us, as Judge Lee knows from a recent case we just had. We follow these children through life because they don't have family. All they've had is a horrible childhood. So 1,736 hours, that includes all of that. And that's just the numbers of hours we've counted. That doesn't count the countless hours that Patty Lamb gets called in the middle of the night because the child's crying because she doesn't know what to do and she misses her family. So those are just hours we're able to document. At the end of 2014, CASA had 17 volunteers. We are swearing in on April the 22nd, another 8 volunteers, but we have accumulated and trained and I say accumulated, I shouldn't say that. The Lord has brought these people because we believe that they definitely are on a mission from God. You can't do this business every day and see the things that we see and hear the stories that we hear without knowing that you're called to this. We now have 40 advocates. After April the 22nd, we're very pleased to announce that number. Doesn't sound like much, but I will tell you that is a very hard job. Very hard job. 85 abused and neglected children were served in Titus County this past year. 15 child cases were closed in Titus County. 3 of those 15 children were returned to their parents. Think about that. 15 children's cases were closed and only 3 got to go home. Why? Parents didn't want to change. Children would have been put back in the same environment and then they would have been returned. It's really hard to come into foster care once, but twice, 3 times. We see cases where intakes happen 8 times in 1 year. How much does a child have to endure before you make a decision? That's my question all the time. 7 of the 15 children, custody was given to relatives. We were able to find people in the community that were somehow related, extended family, cousins, second, third cousins that would be willing to take these children in. 2 of the children were relative adoptions, and 3 of the 15 children, one of them was my little girl that was just adopted, went to people they'd never met before in their whole entire lives to start a new family so that they can have hope and a future without abuse. I will tell you one particular case very quickly. It's actually not in your county, where an attorney was appointed as the guardian ad litem on a case. They had 2 attorneys, one for the child and one as the guardian. That county paid for 8 months for that attorney, no disrespect to attorneys if there's any here today, for 8 months for that attorney to do what I just told you CASA does. They were placed in Lufkin, Texas, because nothing was moving forward in the case and no one could make a decision because no one was willing to drive to Lufkin, Texas to check on these children because they make more money doing what they do, quite honestly. You can't blame them for that. Doing what they do versus checking on a child. This was 3 children, a 6-year-old little girl that had been severely molested by her dad, a 4-year-old little boy that could not speak because he was so traumatized, no words, and a 2-year-old little boy that we still don't know what developmental delays are going to happen. Judge Schnar came to me and she said, I can't take this. 8 months and we have not done anything for these children. 8 months is not a long time to us as adults, but as a child, 8 months is forever. The very next day, CASA accepted the case, and because I did not have advocates, I took the case myself. I drove to Lufkin the very next day, and I am proud to say that last month, all 3 of these beautiful children were adopted into an incredible family that they had never met before, and they are dealing with the trauma of their past. The 4-year-old can now say words. I went to the library to make a puzzle with him. We were sitting on the floor, and he says, I make a puzzle. It took about 30 minutes to get that out. But he finally has a forever home. Like I said, no disrespect to attorneys, but CASA is very valuable to your community because we are willing to do what we can, as much as we can, without looking for the paycheck. 46% of Titus County children in care are 5 years of age or younger. 46%. That's why we are starting the Voice for the Voiceless campaign. These children can't tell you what's happening to them. That's why it's critical to Judge Schnar and to our county that we have eyes on these children constantly. People prey on the very young because they can't speak and tell you who did what to them. There are specially trained people like the Child Advocacy Center that can help us figure out those things. But unless someone's constantly watching these children, we never know what's happening to them. 46% are 5 years old and younger. 29% of the Titus County children in care are 6 to 11 years old. And 43% of the Titus County children in foster care are females. I found that kind of odd. In the other counties, the females are very, very high. In your particular county, the males are very high. 57% of Titus County children in foster care are males. I'm not sure I understand the reason why, but I'm going to look into that. But most of them are females. As you can easily imagine, it's easier sometimes to perpetrate a female. Why is CASA a good investment for Titus County children and for you, for everyone here in our community? Children with a CASA volunteer are less likely to spend time in foster care because we're constantly watching and fighting to make sure that these children get what they need despite what everyone else in the courtroom thinks. Judge Schnarr said it best. She said, we don't need another attorney, Michelle. We've got a courtroom full of them. We need someone that cares about our kids. A child with a CASA is less likely to re-enter foster care once they find a forever family. That's something we never want to happen to our children. And we are working very closely with the legislators, and we formed a legislative advocacy team, and we are speaking to our representatives about what we need to do to change from the top down to stop the child welfare system from being a part of the victimization of our children. They're overburdened, they're overworked, they're not getting paid near enough for the disgusting things that we see every day, and that's why CASA is so important. A child with a CASA is more likely to pass all classes in school, and they are much more likely to find a forever family than someone without a CASA. I really appreciate your support. I know that you can only just think about the little things that we do, but the dynamics and the things that it calls for someone to step up, like the volunteer you see with their CASA shirts on in here today, is a huge calling. It's a very special mission that we're on, and we thank you so much for supporting us in that mission, and we're going to continue to do the very best we can to advocate for your children. Thank you.
Who'd you bring with you today?
Ms. Crystal Hosmer, who is our brand new CASA supervisor, because for every staff person we have, that person supports 30 volunteers, and then for 30 volunteers, that supports 75 children. We're very grateful to be over that 30 volunteer mark, so we were required by Texas CASA in Austin to hire another supervisor. Crystal's one of our supervisors. Michelle Hooks, who's not here today, is another amazing supervisor we have. We stole her from the college. Sorry about that. She's wonderful. She was with CIS for 12 years. Miss Judy Kunkel, who is a wonderful volunteer. Miss Patty Lamb, Miss Judy Kent, and I am looking to see who else is here. I think that's everyone. But everyone that has on a blue ribbon or has your blue ribbon at home and just forgot to put it on, I encourage you to wear it, because black and blue is really the colors of what our children are seeing. And it's not the bruises that scares us, it's sometimes the things that happen up here. The bruises are going to heal. Talked to Carol Grisham at Safety about that many times. The bruises will go away. It's what we're left with that will change their lives forever. If y'all have any questions about CASA or what we do?
Thank you, Michelle, and to the folks that work with you, volunteers. Amazing job, tough job. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for the reminder of this being a special month in your world.
Thank you. And the 133 pinwheels that you see on your ground outside on the lawn, and the blue ribbons, thank you for letting us put those up. We served 133 children last year. 85 of them were in Titus County.
I know the court really appreciates all of you, what you do. When this first started, and I thought it was one of the best things that's ever happened in Titus County, these are our kids. We need to take care of them. And we need people like you out there, because when they go back into, a lot of times they're sent back to the families. That's not a good situation. And before they go back, we need to make sure that those parents are ready to handle this obligation. I greatly, greatly appreciate all of you, and I know everybody up here does. But thank you for all that you do for our kids.
Thank you, Commissioner Fields. I appreciate it. Thank you, Judge Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy, you want to say anything? You had asked us possibly speak on that item.
I'm at number 6.
Okay, you had number 4 on there. All right. Item number 5, presentation by Imelda Tatch with Northeast Texas Child Advocacy Center. Welcome, Imelda. Podium is yours.
For your time. Well, that was, I was so glad to hear her moving speech, because we work together actually with CASA. What the Northeast Texas Child Advocacy Center does is work together with the multidisciplinary team, CASA being part of that. We work together with Child Protective Services, law enforcement, prosecutors. The children that she gets usually come to us first. The children have made an outcry of abuse, sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or they've witnessed violent crime. that are brought to us where we have trained forensic interviewers that will sit just with the child. Before child advocacy centers were created, a child might have to tell that story to numerous agencies, numerous people. And so the child abuse or child advocacy centers were created to reduce the trauma that the child might have to go through to tell their story over and over and over. You can imagine how that might be for a 5 or 6-year-old. The age of sexual abuse begins at 4. It's 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys, and the average age of child sexual abuse is 4 years old, and that is the majority of our cases. We do serve 8 counties. Titus County is one of our counties that we serve. We are based in Winsboro. And like I said, we work together with a multidisciplinary team. We also, she said, a lot of these children are going to constantly going back into their families. Part of our services is intervention, child abuse prevention and intervention. They come to us, we offer counseling, we have intervention, we have parenting classes, we have a class here in Mount Pleasant, Pittsburgh, and throughout our counties to help with those families, because most of the families we do get in our parenting program is families that are waiting to get their children back, or, as she said, sometimes they don't follow through. But we do offer that service for them. Part of the reason that I am here today is because I came across an idea, or there's a fee that is available to, that is available out there for funding for safety programs. And I want to bring that to your attention. My board vice president came last week, and we came and spoke with Judge Lee and brought this to his attention, and I'm here today to present about that. And I have a little bit of information about it. And it does help. Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't bring one of the other, Jennifer, one of the other services or programs that this can help is children that are in child safety, any type of a child safety program, and or food and nutrition. We all work together. All of these children that come to us, like you said, they're our children. They come to us first because they've been abused. Then we offer services, and we work together with others like Mikasa and Titus County Cares. They offer programs for children for nutrition. A lot of these children that come to us are neglected as well as abused. So I don't know if you'd like to stay a minute about yours, and I will give you this information.
Yeah, while she's talking, why don't you give us that, and then you can tell us some more about it when Jennifer's through.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thank you so much for taking the time. We're kind of building here on what the outreach that we have in our community. My name is Jennifer Lyde, and I'm the co-director of the Food for Kids program at Titus County Cares. This is a volunteer position. Food for Kids, also known as the Backpack Program, this year has provided for well over 2,000 children on 10 different school campuses in our community, provided weekend food bags for these children. Well over 2,000 kids this year. Children receive these food bags each Friday during the school year after their parents fill out an application that is sent home with them on the first day of school. Parents would not take the time to go through this process and fill out this application for just a few perishable food items if their children did not desperately need this extra nutrition. An example of the food that goes home with these kids each Friday in the food bag are juice boxes, milk, small canned pasta, cereal, granola bars, and nuts. This is not junk food. This is nutritional food to sustain them. For some of our students that we work with in the Food for Kids program, this is the only food that they have from the time that they have lunch at their school on Friday until they come back to school on Monday. I'm sure that we can relate back over here, ladies, with some of the things that you've been talking about. This is the only food that they have. I know this because I know these students. I get the phone calls from their teachers asking, can we please get an application and get this food on the program? Their parents have lost their job, or they're unemployed, or they're part of a program that needs extra, supplement. I know this because I see these kids. I myself have been with these kids on field trips where they've said, I'm so hungry, I don't feel like going to play. And I give them my lunch and say, here, take this, so that they have that extra energy to go out. When I see these kids at school, pardon me, and their faces light up when they see a bag of food coming to their classroom. They get so excited for a bag of food like it's their birthday, like that's a gift, a present, because they know they can count on Titus County Cares and the Food for Kids program. They can rely on that food when they cannot rely in their lives on maybe their family or them providing for them. They get so excited when they have that food bag coming home for them. That is something that they can rely on every week. Hey, you know what? Children with full bellies do better in school. You mentioned doing better in school earlier, Michelle. They can concentrate, and therefore they make better grades, and therefore they become productive citizens and productive in our communities. And you know what? They may even sit on Commissioner's Court someday. An increase in a vehicle registration fee would be very, very small. But the impact that that money would have on our program and allowing us to help feed these children would be huge. I thank you, Judge, and I thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to share about Food for Kids with you today. And I have some pamphlets to give you.
Go ahead, Imelda.
Yes, now, the fee is, as you said, it's a small fee. It's up to $1.50 for vehicle registration throughout the county. I've done a little research on several child advocacy centers, is how I found out about it. A lot of the counties will impose this fee on the vehicle registration. And that money is to go to, first of all, it was created to go to crossing guards programs, if you have that in your county. If not, or if so, any remaining funds could go to a child safety program or child nutrition, including child abuse prevention and intervention, or food and nutrition, a child safety program. So that's what I'm here today for, to let you know a little bit about the Child Advocacy Center. You've heard from now Food for Kids and CASA. These are three very important agencies that help the children in our community. And we all work together. It's all the same children coming through. We see some of those children, they're all together, they're all the same children. So we appreciate your listening to us, and we hope that you would consider this for the future. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, they'd rather hear it from you than from me.
Sure.
But you said up to $1.50. What, and it can be anything below that?
50 cents up to $1.50. I noticed that some of the counties, as I was doing some research, some imposed 50 cents. Some just raised it up to from 75 cents to $1 this year. There are 50 counties in the state that are imposing the fee currently. You have the list there, the last, and then one of the counties I noticed, Russ County is not on there because it started this year. Mills County is another one that started this year, and some raised the county. You can impose the fee, as I said, beginning at 50 cents or up to $1.50.
And this fee is collected
It's through
when?
the vehicle registration. It's on the vehicle registration, just like the road and bridge fee. It's an additional fee that can be imposed on all vehicle registrations in the county. I noticed that based on last year's numbers, there were 31,532 vehicles registered in Titus County. It's not just cars, it's trucks, any type of vehicle that's registered. And then once the fee is imposed, and then that money goes to the tax assessor collector's office and then on out to where it belongs, wherever you decide it should go. But it does need to be a child safety program.
All right. Any questions for Imelda? I'm going to discuss in the next agenda item a little bit more, and then we've got a couple of folks that would like to address this from the audience. But do you have any questions for Imelda?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies, we appreciate each of you and what you do and the words you had to share for us. We'll move on now to item number 6. Consider and possibly approve the addition of Texas Department of Motor Vehicles child safety fee related to vehicle registration fees. And I had left you a copy of this in your box, but let me briefly read this. And this is a decision that we don't have to make until September 1, but in September is when the court tells the state of Texas what fees we are going to collect in Titus County, and they will go into effect in January. The following is a brief description of the local option fees from Chapter 502 of the Transportation Code. Of course, you know about the county road and bridge fee. We already are collecting that. And then a child safety fee. Not less than 50 cents or more than $1.50. Revenue must be used for school crossing guard services. Remaining funds must be used for programs to enhance child safety, health, or nutrition, including child abuse intervention and prevention and drug and alcohol abuse prevention. And that's what you've heard 3 folks talk about this subject here. Right now, Titus County is not collecting anything related to this child safety fee. So with that, I will not say anything else. I've got a couple of folks that would like to speak to this. Sue and Judy, you can go in whichever order that you would like to, or you can wait till the end or come now.
Good morning. Good morning. I have to admit, when I saw this item on the agenda, my curiosity was aroused. And I wondered what in the world the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles child safety fee was. And just maybe because of my cynical view of government right now, that I thought it might be another scheme to get into our pocket. So I did look up the cited code and the related codes and understand that this child safety fee up to $1.50 could be imposed on vehicle registration as a voluntary donation and for the support of the school crossing guard program, which of course we have done. And I'll tell you right off the bat, it perturbed me, the whole concept a little bit. Even though it's a voluntary contribution, it just smacks of government involvement in charitable giving. U.S. Senator Davy Crockett had gotten into big trouble with a constituent over this very issue right after the War of 1812. And he never made that mistake again. In fact, it's a great civic lesson in the story about what happened the next time the subject came up on the Senate floor about appropriating money to a war widow of a revered officer. And he reprimanded his colleagues overstepping their constitutional responsibility to the people if the government gets involved in appropriating money for charity. I know the word voluntary is making the distinction, but this would basically be a government-sponsored charity. And the code goes on to say, in lieu of the school crossing guard program, the voluntary fee could be collected for a whole broad range of programs designed to enhance child safety, health, or nutrition, including child abuse, prevention and intervention, and drug and alcohol abuse. And oh my goodness, it's so ambiguous, it could probably apply to nearly every agency, every program, every service organization and church in Titus County. So I called 2 agencies who were most visibly involved in the community with the issue of child safety, and that being CASA and the Safety Shelter. And I asked both of the directors if they were behind imposing this fee and if they could use the money. Well, they both assured me that they could use the money, that was for sure, but they had nothing to do with the request. So this morning it is clear who's going to benefit, but the fact is that these agencies will get a continuous stream of revenue and will become the envy of every related organization in the county. And look at the other organizations that are just as deserving. We have WIC, we have the Child Development Center, we have CPS, we have the Child Welfare Board, the Workforce Solution Child Care Services, and these are just the agencies. And what about the Scouts who do intervention and prevention programs, and the service organizations like the Lions, or the churches with pantries and food meal programs? And if we go down this road, every entity related to child safety and health and nutrition, abuse prevention and intervention, and drug and alcohol abuse in some fashion could want a piece of this pie. And who would qualify the fee recipients? Because I think you may be opening a can of worms. I really appreciate the agencies that are represented here and the volunteers. But I just don't quite understand if we go into this, if we're not looking at something that's going to provide more trouble for us. And then there's the matter of the county taking up 10% right off the top for administration fees. And while, of course, somebody does have to account for the fees that are collected and make sure the agencies get their portion. I'm generally opposed to it because it skirts around the constitutional obligation of government to charity. But there's another reason that also bothers me. Unless it's absolutely clear on the new vehicle registration forms that it is voluntary and it will be just like a hidden tax. Most folks won't bother to read the fine print. And this year, the confusion would be compounded because of this new process of vehicle inspection and registration being connected to the computer. I think signage might be needed at the assessor's office that clearly states it's voluntary and that the agencies that are going to benefit from it are listed. And the clerks need to be trained also to inform citizens when they come in the office that it is voluntary. All the agencies I've mentioned either function because taxpayers have already funded these services or have received state and federal grants, plus they get charitable donations. Everybody knows that we could never allocate enough money to care for all the needs of these agencies. And I would just like to ask you to consider carefully before we go into this. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. You're bringing up something I'm not aware of. You keep referring to this as voluntary.
It's going to, I got from the codes that were cited.
And I'm not disputing you. I really don't know.
I got from the codes that was cited that it was going to be a voluntary thing. If it's a fee imposed that's permanent, that makes it even more difficult for me to accept.
The way I interpreted it is that it was voluntary for the Commissioner's Court to decide whether or not to impose it.
Maybe you needed...
In other words, when you go and register your car, if we were to vote on this, I don't think you could opt out of that 50 cents or $1.50. I don't think that that's your decision. I think it's the decision here. We either impose it or we don't impose it.
Well, Judge, then that's an even a bigger issue then for me, because I think imposing this thing would be a hidden tax in a sense on people, the county.
And again, I'm not challenging you on that. I don't know, but I think it's important that we clarify it. But as I'm reading this, I don't see anything about this. They're calling it imposition of optional fees. And again, I think that's our option. I don't think it's the individual registrant's option. So.
Then it presents an even bigger constitutional issue.
Yeah. Well presented. Any questions or for Sue? Okay, thank you. Judy, would you like to address this?
Really, I just want to reiterate what Sue's saying. I'm a CASA volunteer. I volunteer. You're talking about taxing people again. And so to me, it's just a hidden tax. People have no vote, no choice in. You're going to stick it on there like the road fees and all. It's another hidden tax for our taxpayers. So no, I'm a volunteer. And I don't see we need to gig our taxpayers anymore. It upsets me that you just keep adding taxes to our taxpayers. And you know, I'm a volunteer. CASA has my heart, but this is not a volunteer tax they're having to pay. You're sticking it on there. They're stuck with it, and they got to pay it. And I don't think that's right for charitable organizations. The word is charitable. They're already getting grants and stuff from the taxpayers to operate on. I just don't see how we can do this to our taxpayers over and over and over again. And, you know, my heart's with CASA, but I'm a volunteer for a charity. I don't think you have a right to tax the taxpayers on this.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen. I have item number 6 on here. Yeah, I'll certainly let you talk. I just want to be sure everybody understands that this is in relation to item number 6, where the court is now considering and possibly approving the addition of this child safety fee that would be tacked on to each registration that occurs over at our tax office. And again, it's a minimum of 50 cents, can be as high as $1.50. Commissioner Riddle.
I would like to make this comment. Everybody in this room is a noble people. Probably our incomes are great, that $1.50 is not very much to us. But I think that the taxpayers, I agree that we shouldn't do it because, first of all, we are an economically distressed county. That means we get all kinds of goodies from the government, from the state, like fixing the roads. Other counties had to pay 20%. But a family of four, a disadvantaged family, economic disadvantage, a family of four makes $32,000 or less. So to us, most of us in this room, $1.50 is nothing to register a car. But we're not talking about us in this room. We're all, and the charities that work here, I love you and I appreciate you very much. And I can't tell you. But we represent the taxpayers. And to force the taxpayers to go with $1.50, if you got 3 kids in school and you make less than $32,000, you're in trouble. You're worried about a new pair of shoes. When one of your kids gets sick, you're worried about your doctor bills and making the payments. And I just think that all the volunteers are great. People want to pay $1.50, but for the Commissioner's Court to put that on the taxpayers, I think would be, just because we're able to, would be wrong. Again, I think it's a noble cause, but we should do it with charity, not forced taxation.
Okay.
Those are my opinions.
Anyone else like to address this?
Judge, I would. These children, a lot of times they're in the situation these individuals have to deal with these kids and what these kids have to go through in their lives. They're our kids. They're Titus County kids. If we don't help them and help them get on the right road, they're our children. We need to be there for them. If we don't, then Tim, we might as well plan on start building a bigger jail, because if those children don't get help and get going the right direction, we're going to pay all right, but it's going to be more taxes for jails and things like that. So I'm for this fee. I think it needs to happen. I think we need to be there and take care of our kids. It's our responsibility, to me, to make sure these children are helped and change life. You never know, that person you help may be a commissioner someday, may be the president one of these days. These children are important, and we don't need to. I know they are loaded down. How many children do we have in Titus County this year that we're helping and assisting?
Which one?
CASA.
Okay.
This past year, CASA served 133 children, but in Titus County, we served 85 abused and neglected children.
85.
There's many more that are in foster care that haven't been referred for family.
Well, I think it's be a good program, and I think it definitely will help our children. You know, we can either pay now or we can pay later with other problems. You get all kinds of problems. If we do something to help change the direction these young people are going, or help them get out of a bad situation, I think we need to be there for them. And I'll make that into a motion.
Do we have, you say we have till September?
That's right. And you also have, so you have some time. You also have to decide how much, if you were to impose this. Would it be minimum of 50 cents up to the maximum of $1.50? Also, let me say, we're already supporting in a relatively small way 2 of these entities. Well, actually more than that, indirectly. But we do currently provide budgeted funds for CASA as well as child advocacy. And of course, we have a building that is owned by Titus County Cares, and we indirectly provide some benefits to them there. But in answer to your question, yes, we do have some time to decide this, but we also would need to decide an amount if you are interested in this.
Well, I'd like a little more thought on this myself.
I would too.
Okay.
So I know we have a motion on the table.
I withdraw my motion if y'all want to do that.
Okay, the motion has been withdrawn. We'd like to think on this some more.
I'd like to table this, and I'd like to make a motion, we table this and give it a little more thought.
I'll be fine.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second by Commissioners Hinton and Parker that we table this item and we'll bring it up on a future agenda. Thank you again for those of you that took time out of your morning and take time out of your lives to work with these organizations. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for the two presenters that presented their opinions as well. All those in favor of tabling this item, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Thanks again. If any of you need to get back to work, we'd rather have you there than listening to all this. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank y'all.
Item number 7 is a status report for the Titus County pass-through projects. All right, I have here a report from today from Mark Heidecker with PTP Transportation. We're going to focus obviously on FM 1000, or what we will refer to as FM 4000 ultimately. James Construction Group, $17,334,000 paid to date, about 92%. 383-day contract time with 118 days added on. 501 days total. We've charged 501 days total through April the 10th. James Construction Group, over the last few weeks, have been making good progress in regards to getting the job dressed up and seated. There is still work to be done regarding the cleanup, but depending upon the weather, they are stating they should be finished with all dressing and seating work by the end of this week, with the exception of the area where the crane mats are being removed. Currently, James is reworking the flex base on the west end of the job and should be ready for an approval test on everything west of 271 today. That's over there on the Preferred property. The loop that hooks into the 271 portion. From Home Depot over to the new loop, that quarter circle there. Eric Lafitte with James has stated that he has 2 additional graders on the job, which will allow for 2 grading operations on the flex base, and the other will be fixing the driveways. The bridge deck crew has completed the grinding on the deck, confirming that no water is standing on the surface. As far as the rail goes, TxDOT has agreed the rail may need to be painted to cover up some of the imperfections of the rubbing and patching, so the PTP staff is working with James on the pricing at this time. The first set of mowers got on the project last week was able to complete the mowing at this time to allow for new summer growth of all the seeding that's been implemented. The subcontractor, STI, should have all the wiring pulled by the end of the week, which will allow for lights flashing to be turned on for 271. Southwest Environmental is currently working on the sign pedestals, should be finished with all of them by the end of this week. With regards to the potholes on FM 1735, PTP was able to do some coring on the project and presented the results to James Construction. Let me just explain. This is potholes that is out there on those 2, I'll call it 1 mile plus sections of asphalt that was put down last fall at the intersections of FM 4000 and the Union Hill Road and the Chapel Hill Road. Sure looked nice when it went down, but there have been some potholes that have popped up, and they've spent a good bit of time figuring out why those potholes occurred. Back to my reading here. James Construction has agreed that they will need to perform the fix agreed upon with TxDOT area engineer Roger Ledbetter. The agreement is for James Construction to reclaim the entire roadway, mixing the asphalt in with the flex base. Once this has been done, the base is to be treated with 4% cement at a depth of 10 inches. Once the cement water is introduced into the flex base, the contractor must complete the mixing, compaction, and fine grading within 2 hours per TxDOT. It will then receive prime coat and then 2 coarse surface treatments as shown in the plans. Unfortunately for Titus County residents, James will have to do lane closure periodically and will have flagmen on side during said construction. At this time, PTP is working with James on traffic control plans as well as a schedule in which said operation will begin. Currently, the plan is to start the operation on April 27th and the first phase, and then be ready come May 1st to lay seal coat once the season begins. PTP was notified last week that James plans to start working 7 days a week from sunup to sundown in order to meet deadlines as outlined in previous meetings that faced Titus County and the contractor. PTP will have dedicated staff on hand to oversee the construction of the project and confirm that all records are being kept in accordance with state and federal rules. As the plans get more finalized with James, PTP will be sure to update the court as well as local entities that will be affected as construction continues to move forward. So, some positive news here. We are seeing more manpower and more equipment on the project, and PTP is actually has almost some smiles on their faces as they were telling me this. So we are grateful to have more guys on this job. It's unfortunate that we've had the potholes on that nice asphalt out there at those two intersections that will need to be redone, but at least James has admitted to that being their responsibility, and they will pay. Any comments or questions, Commissioners?
Only thing I know, Jimmy, we were at the meeting last week, he's going to contact the high school when that work starts. There may be an alternate route that people might can take in college, and we'll try to get a hold of the Welch Power Plant where the trucks are coming out and let them know that that road's going to be working on. There may be an alternative way of going out of there that might help the traffic in that situation. As you said, they have agreed to take care of all the expense on that.
Anything else?
It will be pulled down to one lane on each end when they're doing the end. They'll to where the turn lane is, they'll go from it to the side and redo it, that part of it, and then they'll go to the other side. But the two ends are so narrow that you're going to have to pull it down to one lane and you know, let them flag it as they do that. So it's going to be some delays out there, but
Got to be fixed. All right. If there's nothing else, I'll move along. Item number 8, update on construction projects. Chris Basham, fill us in on what's currently going on.
Got a recap here. I've also got the bids on the next item on the agenda that's behind it.
Thank you.
The wrap of the building is well underway. The walls are all up. The demolition has all been completed. The gypboard is up. The texture's on the wall. We're at the point right now where we're fixing to pick colors. I've asked to get copies of or samples of the 4 tiles that started to get selected by the folks at Tax and Vehicle Registration. The countertop, the solid surface, we're getting some colors. Yet we've also had an offer that there's a great price on marble right now that's even cheaper than the solid surface. So I've asked Richard to get me some samples of that so I can bring it up and let the ladies choose kind of what they want to go with as we pick all the colors and everything. But that's the next step. Is picking the colors for all the materials that are going in. Communications and security cameras are still being coordinated right now. We're at that point right now that they've already approved the budget on that. We just haven't got the work lined up to be done in, and I'm working that this week. We had some changes on the cabinetry in the back. There's a lot of built-in cabinets going on there, 3 mobile workstations. We're building a sample workstation so that the ladies can actually sit down and touch it, feel it, and see if we want to make any final changes before we make 9 of them, because there's 9 stations that will be built exactly the same. The back cabinets along the back wall, we made some changes in it to accommodate some different things as far as file cabinets and stuff, and we're getting some changes on that. And I'm still waiting on the prices on that, but it should be less than what we had originally in there.
Say that again. The question I was going to ask you was the changes, maybe some deletions and additions. The net will not be a significant, if any, increase.
Not significant at all. And I've already cleared that with Richard. He's getting 3 different bids too, so he's been real good about showing me all of his subjects. So, and I know what he had originally in the contract, so we're managing all that. And I told him right up front that with the adds and subtracts, it should be pretty much about the same.
Tell the court where these changes came from. Just give them a little bit of background there.
We've got a lot of cabinets over there right now, and at one point, we were looking at relocating those cabinets. They won't fit, they won't even match up. The stain that's over there right now is a light color stain, and they want to do a dark stain. We could have possibly cut them down, refinished it all. That would have cost more from talking with the cabinet makers and just building new cabinets. The new cabinets will be built specifically for what they want. For example, the license plate holders are a 6-inch wide, 7-inch wide, and we're building a little cubicle so they can slide all over the dealer plates, and there's about 20 cubicles where they stack all the dealer plates in. Right now, they're just kind of stacked over there, so we're actually building cubicles that actually support exactly what they're going to do. The storage of the license plates are very heavy, so we had to make sure that the cabinets were supportive of those kind of things. We took out some cabinets so we can actually put file cabinets back into the back wall, so that all the paperwork is on one location all along the back wall. We actually moved a separate location for where they count money in a more secure location than just in the back behind everybody. So we took a room that we had and actually are defining it for a very specific office for where they're counting the money. We moved the doors so that was now in a more secure environment. So we just made some changes, and we made them at the right time so that they weren't having to be redone. We caught all of this stuff at the time before anything was built. So the changes that we're looking at, we're actually taking away cabinets. We are adding a few more. In my opinion, it's pretty much a wash as far as what we're adding or subtracting, but until I see the actual bids from the 3 subcontractors, I won't be able to tell you, but it shouldn't be significant at all. The completion of the work is still scheduled to be around the end of May. We haven't locked in on an exact date yet. The doors, which were a long lead item, as they were for adult probation, have been ordered, and we're waiting for those to come in a few weeks before we trim out everything. But the tile floor will go in, and the cabinets will go in. We'll do the painting, and the doors and all the wood trim will go in, and that should fairly complete the project. The air conditioning is in, and that's all been rebuilt and redone. So we're just primarily on finished work now. On the county computer room, they're well underway. That project will be done in the next 2 weeks. At best, 3 at the most. You have it for the next item on the agenda is the computer cabling. There are 2 bids in your package there that we'll get into on the next agenda item. But that's the next long pole in the tent. That's actually moving all of the computer cabling over without shutting down any county business. We've got it scheduled right now. Once y'all approve this, is a Wednesday evening. They're going to come in at 5 o'clock. They've already coordinated with the sheriff's department, who's operating after 5, about how we start swapping over the cables. There's a lot of cables to be swapped over one by one, so that the county operations stay in business, except for that 5 or 10 minutes while they're swapping that particular cable over for a particular business. The exterior hallway, all the work's been done by closing the doorways and opening up the doorways. They will be repainting that exterior hallway, so it's all matched in the same color, and we put it probably in a lighter color. We haven't picked up yet, but it's kind of a dark and dank color right now, and since they got to repaint, they're going to probably paint it a lighter color. There is a door to the court reporter's office that's getting some glass put in it, so she has some daylight coming into that cave that she's in right now. And that should complete the construction of that. Like I said, we're looking at the end of April right now. And at best, 1 more week after that. But Scott Remington has really jumped in there and got everything done. Sean, who's your computer guy, has really helped coordinating with all of that and cleaning it up. We had to keep operations going while this construction was going on. And we actually did a 25% of one of the walls in the room and the floor, so we could move everything over, and then we have to get the cabling done. Scott will finish up the rest of it. Any questions?
And Chris, what did you say, where is it anticipated that to finish the election building?
End of May.
End of May?
Yeah, the computer room looks good. It's going to give them a whole lot more well-organized space to work with over there. It was unbelievably crowded in there previously. Anything else?
That's it on the update.
Any questions for Chris on any of these before he talks about this cabling relocation? Okay, I'm going to move on then to item number 9, consider. You need a second to switch that.
Yeah, I need a second. Technology's lovely, isn't it?
Something's flashing. That's usually not good.
It's good now.
It's good now?
It's good
Okay,
now.
we're good. Item number 9, consider and possibly approve an expenditure for a communication cable relocation for the computer room. Talking about the new computer room renovation.
As I said earlier, we did the renovation, so like 25% of it was done, so we can actually put in a new computer rack that Sean ordered. The computer rack is in, now we have to move from the old computer rack to the new computer rack one by one. And there's actually 4 fiber boxes that need to get moved, and 40 to 50 Cat 5 cables are going to be relocated one by one. When they're unplugged, that particular agency that's on that line goes down until they plug it back into the other one. So it's actually moving at about 5 feet from this box over to the new box on the cable, and it's got to be done. They're estimating it will take about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. So they're going to start at 5. It will definitely be done by midnight. And it'll all be done all at one time. So when you come back up on Thursday morning, everything should be up and running and ready to go. There were 2 proposers on this. One, Lantana Communications, who has done some work here before. They came in at $660. And they're out of actually out of Arlington, Texas. They're the guys that did the work on the adult probation. Kind of. It was Seth that did that. And Seth's done some work out here. His dad is actually the guy that did the work on the adult probation, and he passed away. Seth kind of picked up on that, but Seth doesn't do it directly. It actually comes through Montana, out of Arlington. The other group that Sean had recommended we get a quote from was Cross Country Communications. They're out of Sulphur Springs. They actually came in at less at $615, and both Sean and I would recommend that the court approve Cross Country Communications.
Lantana is the company that provides our telephone system.
Correct.
By the way. And Sean's familiar with Cross Country. He knows these folks. Okay. Was this work originally that was planned for Sean to do, or is this something we've always known was coming? We just didn't know how extensive it was going to be, or what?
We didn't know how extensive it was going to be. We knew we had to get somebody specifically. Sean was able to do 1 or 2 smaller things, but when he saw the magnitude of how much it had to be moved and still trying to maintain operations, he really recommended that we get the communications folks to do that. He was not comfortable with doing it himself, nor did he have, I guess, the capability within his current services to do this. So he's the one that recommended we actually go get the communications company.
Okay.
Could I ask how you would know this Lantana Communication Company from Arlington? How did you contact with them?
I didn't. They were contacted by me. They were doing their phone.
Commissioner, Lantana is the company that Seth Thurman works for. Seth's father, Rex Thurman, is the one who has always done wiring work for the county. He passed away last year. Seth with Lantana is who we call for changes, additions, modifications to our Avaya telephone system that's in the courthouse and in the annex and in the, what other buildings are they in?
The Justice Center.
Justice Center.
Sheriff's Department.
And we actually, Judge, have contacted Seth.
Yeah, Seth lives here in Mount Pleasant. He's their local representative and the one that knows our system.
Seth was actually contacted with his passing his father to see if he could pick it up. He used to work with his father. His position with the company with Lantana right now does not allow him to actually do the work, so he referred it back to his company he works for, which is Lantana, and that's how I got introduced to him.
Could I ask another question? I sent a memo asking for some, on your, after we got your resume, for references, names, and companies that we could contact or could be checked. Usually resumes has reference furnished up on request, and I requested these references. And that's been 2 months ago, and I haven't got a response in any way.
You and I probably need to talk about that privately, but bottom line is what I provided the court was not a resume. I responded to your original communication that you didn't know who I was, didn't know what I stood for. I felt compelled to come back to you and the court to say, hey guys, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm doing. That's what I provided. It was not provided as a resume. What you asked for was my last 20 years of everybody I've worked for, every project I've worked for, and a contact number for them. And quite frankly, I refuse to give that to you. That's irrelevant for what I was providing. I'm not applying for a job for you guys. If you don't want me to work here, don't hire me. Okay? That's it, Al. I'm tired of dealing with your, I don't even know what to call it. I've never seen such.
Well, Chris, let me interrupt and say, didn't you provide some local entities that you had worked for, college and stuff?
Yes, I did.
Who did you provide that to, and can we get that? Can we get that again? Okay. Well, I remembered seeing it. I didn't know if Commissioner Riddle had not gotten that or not. Did you not get that?
I don't have a piece of paper that I could contact one company that he's done work for.
Okay.
With a name or the address or anything. You can read all of that stuff. Not one place in there can I get it.
Can you get him that same thing that you gave to us again, please? All right, any questions on this relocation of wiring for the computer room remodel?
Make a motion, we go with the lowest bid.
Will that be this, that'll be this Wednesday night if we approve this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Fields that we award this to Cross Country Communication at $615.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hinton. All in favor of this project and being awarded to Cross Country, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, Chris. Item number 10, update on modifications to the Bates Cooper Sloan Funeral Home driveway modification. All right, remember last meeting we approved, or maybe it was 2 meetings ago, some changes that we had agreed needed to be made out there at the funeral home. Problem is, when our county attorney got involved in this, he said, you know what, I'm not sure that we can proceed if you're going to be making modifications and or improvements on private property. Mr. Coburn and I and Michael, I can't think of his name, with Titus, with Texas Association of Counties, did discuss this, and it is TAC's recommendation and John Mark Coburn's recommendation that we not move forward with this. We have got to find another way for this to be done, but the county, using county monies to make improvements on private property, is a potential big problem. And I don't know what the ultimate outcome or what other options are potentially available. Right now I'm working with Mike Lightfoot with TxDOT. We have an agreement, I think that's the right word. Roger Ledbetter here with our local office does agree that we have got a safety issue at this location and that something needs to be done. Now, is he volunteering TxDOT resources to fix it? No. I don't know where we need to turn right now, but we have put a hold on this project. I have communicated with the funeral home. I've communicated with Alan Parr, who was going to be doing the concrete work, and said we've run into this very real obstacle here, and I'm grateful to our county attorney for keeping us out of potential trouble. Now, does this fall under any other circumstance that might allow us to figure out a different way to do it? We certainly hope so, because we do want to fix that traffic problem there where people are going down a wrong way to get into the southern entrance of the funeral home. But until we can figure out the appropriate way and the legal way to do this, I'm just letting you all know that project has stopped. I will keep you informed as I progress in my discussions with Mr. Lightfoot and TxDOT Atlanta office. Item number 11, consider and possibly approve an amendment to the Fire Protection Service Agreement with the City of Mount Pleasant related to the joint purchase of one Pierce Saber pumper truck. You'll recall Kerry Wooten was here at our last meeting and provided us with a document that he had put together where it modifies the agreement and the responsibilities of both the city and the county as it relates to this pumper truck. And so we now need to approve this agreement that I read to you at that last meeting. And again, make sure that you understand the cost of the truck itself, $346,272, is the base purchase price of that truck. And then the additional wording says, plus 1/2 of the actual cost of equipment up to a maximum total expenditure of $400,000. And I wanted to be sure we were all clear there, and that the city specifically wanted us to be sure that we understand we're not just agreeing to the $346,272. That was just the starting point, like buying a base vehicle before you add options to it. And we knew that there would be some options that would be added to that base price, and we knew that that potential total was around $400,000. That's what we agreed upon many, many months ago. So this document has not changed since Kerry presented it to us, but we do need to formally approve this amendment to the Fire Protection Service Agreement. I'll be glad to read it again to you. I'll be glad to let you take a look at it.
You're talking about half of the additional cost, half of the $400,000 for us.
That's correct. Half of the, up to $400,000. The basic total purchase price of that truck, $346,272. We're agreeing to pay for half of that, plus 1/2 of the actual cost of equipment that's added on to that base vehicle, up to a maximum total expenditure of $400,000. So let me just read that one more time. Provisions related to the city, and it essentially says the same thing in another paragraph related to the county. Pay for 1/2 of the purchase price of a Pierce Saber FR side mount pumper truck approved by the City Council of the city on December 1, 2014 in the amount of $346,272 plus 1/2 of the actual cost of equipment up to a maximum total expenditure of $400,000. And then it says the same thing in terms of the county.
I'll make a motion that we pay half the cost.
Okay, motion by, that we approve this amendment would be the
Yes,
motion.
okay.
Motion by Commissioner Riddle that we approve this amendment to the Fire Protection Service Agreement to encompass the purchase and equipping of this new pumper truck.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Parker. Mike, anything you want to add while you're here?
I'll just clarify that to add all of our actual equipment that it needs to supply the truck, the ladders, the hoses, and all, that's what we're talking about. It's not add-ons to the truck necessarily.
Okay.
But it's enough.
The necessary equipment to equip it to do its job.
And I think, Judge, this truck is going to be titled in the city's name, is that right?
That's correct. It's co-owned by agreement, but we're going to title it.
Co-owned by agreement, titled in the city of Mount Pleasant. Insured by Mount Pleasant. All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the approval of this amendment to our Fire Protection Service Agreement with the city, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And there are none. Thank you. Item number 12, consider and possibly claim the county's allocation of excess capital credits from the State Comptroller's Office. This isn't a big dollar item, but we want to certainly take advantage of an opportunity to claim any funds that might be there and available to any and all counties. I think it's going to amount to a few $100s. But nonetheless, we will want to, I certainly suggest that we go ahead and claim that so that it doesn't go to another county. The letter I'm sending to Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts to the attention of Mr. Bryant Clayton, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Taj Williams. In response to your letter, the Commissioners Court is requesting a portion of the unclaimed capital credits received from electric cooperatives. The funds will be used in compliance with the provision of Section 381.004 of the Texas Local Government Code. We have done this in the past. This is for 1 year. The last time we did it, it was for accumulation of 2 years, but this is just for 1 year. And I think, again, that the dollar figure that we're expecting to get is around $600, according to Mr. Williams.
I make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hinton, second by Commissioner, did you say second? Second by Commissioner Parker to go ahead and claim these unclaimed capital credits. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Give that back to you. Item number 13 and 14, kind of similar here, but we'll start one at a time. Consider and possibly approve the sale of Tract 1, Lot 11, Block 6, Town of Talco, with the address of 418 Broad Street. This is similar to when Tim Taylor has brought us bids for our consideration. This one is actually brought to us by Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Simpson, who does not do work for the city of, for the county, but for some of our surrounding neighbors. This is a piece of property, again, in Talco. Let me give you the judgment amounts. $50 to the city of Talco, $538 Rivercrest ISD, $280 Northeast Texas Community College, and $665 Titus County. So you're looking at nearly $1,400 worth of judgments that are outstanding on this piece of property. The adjudged value of $430, I'm not sure who determines that particular value, and we have a bid of $30 from Mr. and Mrs. Case out of Talco. Again, a bid of $30 on this adjudged value of $430 with nearly $1,400 worth of judgment amounts. This will need our approval in addition to these other entities before this is accepted, so just because we say yes doesn't mean that it will be sold.
I make a motion, we don't accept that.
Okay.
I think it's worth more than that.
Motion by Commissioner Riddle to not accept this bid of $30 for this piece of property in Talco. Second by Commissioner Parker. All those in favor of declining this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Let me ask you this. I know you have some property in Talco. Do you know where this property is at?
Not right. I was trying to remember where it's at. I'd have to go look at it. Go see if I can find it.
The county can use it when back in.
But I just had to go over and look at it.
Thank you, Kay. Kay's brought a picture of this. 0.0631 acres. Looks like it's been on the tax rolls at about $366. Okay. Did we vote on that? Okay. We did vote on it? Okay. I knew we had a motion in a second. All right, so we declined that one. We're going to move on to the second piece of property here. This is consider and possibly approve the sale of Lot 4, Block 14 in the town of Talco. Once again, this comes to us from Linebarger and Goggin, Blair, and Simpson. These are the total amounts outstanding, tax warrant amounts of $178, City of Talco, $304, Rivercrest ISD $13, Northeast Texas Community College $93, Titus County. A judged value of $410, and we have a bid of $500 on this one.
About how much is looking at there?
Your total outstanding tax warrant amounts $300, $400, $577, right at $600. A judged value of $410 with a bid of $500. So the $500 will not quite cover the tax warrant amounts, but it'll cover 80% of it. Once again, not only our approval is needed, but all 4 of these entities.
Well, I think it's pretty close. I'll make that motion to accept that bid.
Motion by Commissioner Fields to accept this $500 bid on this second piece of property.
That'll get it back on the tax roll.
Philip, you know where that one is? Is that on Broad Street?
It doesn't even give an address on this particular one.
No address on that one.
Motion by Commissioner Fields and a second by Commissioner Hinton to accept this bid of $500. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will approve that one. Let me give that back to you, and I'll sign that later. Okay, do you need this back?
You can keep it.
Okay. Let's keep that with that one. You have that, could I leave that with you, that on that other piece of property?
I think it's right here.
I've got the picture. That's the second part I was looking for right there. Okay, item number 15, discuss presentation by TxDOT, Tuesday, April 21 at 6 p.m. at the Civic Center. Rebecca Wells with TxDOT called me about a week and a half ago to discuss the traffic accident problem we are having at the north end of the new loop out there by Western Sizzlin, Tex Trail, the Shell Station, in that area. Everybody's aware we've had way too many wrecks up there, many for similar reasons, but they are occurring at different locations. They are aware of this. They have heard from Chief Isabel, has really been diligent at telling them that we need some help here at this intersection. Apparently TxDOT has listened, they have studied this, they have put together a presentation, and TxDOT called and said, may we come to you and make a presentation about this. You may have anyone attend this meeting that you like, members of the public, elected officials, whoever you want. We just want to share this information with you. I don't know what they're coming to tell us. I haven't seen this PowerPoint presentation. She didn't give me any indication as to what was going to be their recommendation, but I do believe that they understand our concern, and they are concerned too. This is, by the way, their road, of course. So next Tuesday at 6 p.m., we've got the Walnut Room provided at no charge by the city for us to gather in. We can get 100 or so people in there. I have no idea how many folks in the public will come out for this, but it was in the paper, and a nice article provided, so I just wanted to make you aware of that. Please get the word out to anyone that you think may be interested in that. A week from tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Item number 16, consider and possibly approve travel and seminars. I have 2 requests here. Both are from the sheriff. One is to send Ashlyn Lesher, who is a dispatcher, to a basic operators course in Tyler on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of May. Total of $20 per day worth of meals, plus fuel to get back and forth in a county vehicle. There is no registration cost. That'll be in mid-May. The second is to send Miguel Castillo, Sergeant, to interview and interrogation training in Dallas the 27th, 28th, 29th of April. $580 registration plus meals plus cost of hotel. brings the total to $1,058. However, there is state training money available to compensate us, and there will be no cost to the county. Those are the only two that I have, both from the sheriff. Motion by Commissioner Parker, second by Commissioner Fields to approve these two travel requests. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 17, approve oral and written reports.
The only thing I mentioned, Judge, we mentioned it briefly last meeting, I think, is the park is overdrawn. I just want to watch that and see where it goes. We'll probably have to make a budget and transfer some money from the general fund to cover it.
Who's our?
This is the park.
County park.
It did not, the county park.
Bad weather's kept the campers away.
Kept their revenues. They make all the money generally, whether they don't have a lot of fishing out there in the summer. So I don't think we're going to make up what we lost.
I think we just had 2 fishing tournaments out there this year. Normally you have 10 to 12.
So it's a little short.
Make a motion, we accept.
Motion by Commissioner Riddle for approval,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 18, consider and possibly approve the treasurer's report. Thank you. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's report.
Motion by Commissioner Hinton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 19, approve budget amendments.
I have 2, Judge. Number 19 is the election building remodel. Y'all approved this. This was on the air conditioner. We approved this back in February. And this is the budget amendment to adjust for that. That's number 19. And number 20 is the Luke Construction budget amendment that every time we get a paid invoice, we adjust to match their numbers. They moved a
No
little.
new monies here.
No, well, they're moving some money out of contingency. You can see they moved $30,000 out of contingency.
Related to the loop, that's right.
Right.
Is that all?
I make a motion, we approve those budget amendments.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Riddle for approval of these 2 budget amendments, second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 20, sign pay orders and approve payments.
Make a motion to pay bills.
Motion by Commissioner Hinton for approval, second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 21, closing comments, if any. Start on my left, Commissioner Parker.
Only thing I've got, Judge, I know we have started our spring cleanup deal. I wish that we could have known a little earlier that about the delay in them getting out. The paper, when it come out in the paper, it's the 11th, and they didn't get set till late last night. So had a lot of folks that was hunting for them Saturday.
We're ready to go now.
As far as I know, everything ready to go. Here's to my bill.
I have not seen a one of them in Sugar Hill, Talco or Argo. And everybody I've talked to, like I said, I told them it'd be the 11th through the 18th, and I wish I'd known that it was going to be later than that. So anyway,
Do you know who to contact to find out where your dumpsters are?
Well, I can find out.
Okay.
I can get a number and everything, but I'm just very, very disappointed in it that they didn't get out no sooner than they did, so.
Well, sorry about that.
But it's neither here nor there.
Okay. I don't have anything today.
The thing I have is I talked to them, and they guaranteed they would be out by 10 o'clock. I know it lodge it.
Today?
Today. They said by 10 o'clock they would be at all places. They were trying to get the places and get them out. I know the one at my shop was out. I know Jimmy's on 49 was there. The one at Blodgett is there. So, but they said no later than 10 o'clock they'd be out, and they'll go all the way through Saturday.
Well, I know that I have a lot of phone calls Saturday wanting them, and
we did too.
They would, they was expecting a Saturday to Saturday, but now they're not going to get but maybe a Monday to a Friday, and everybody's already done their cleaning up.
Saturday.
They'll go through Saturday?
Goes through Saturday.
Okay, well.
Maybe not pick them up till Monday?
You pick them up Sunday, start picking them up Sunday or Monday.
They didn't normally pick them up till Monday anyhow.
Yeah, so hopefully they've got
mine
Saturday and
comes
Sunday.
During the
Hopefully
night.
they'll get
They was
another
there
chance.
this morning, they wasn't there last night.
Well, that's unfortunate.
5 o'clock.
But
They wasn't there yesterday afternoon.
But it was, it's one of those things that happened. I think the city, we had talked about the city was going to have theirs 11th, and then they changed it to the 18th, and there were some changes there that kind of coincided with that, to kind of make sure everybody's good it together. But the city will have their cleanup this coming Saturday, the 18th. For this Saturday. So the residents of Mount Pleasant can take their any trash or anything they need to take to the dump. Just remind people not to take tires, oil, batteries, or paint. That's the big thing.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Commissioner Riddle? All right. Yeah, I do. One thing I should have said, and I didn't. This Friday morning, 10 o'clock, and I'll post this today, but Friday morning, the 17th, we will have our first of who knows how many workshops where the commissioners will have a chance to discuss subdivision regulations. I know our realtors have been meeting simultaneously, and I've been reading over this. We can begin discussing specifically on roads and septic systems to see to see what we can do to come up with a workable set of subdivision regulations. So public is welcome to attend. We'll be in here this Friday starting at 10 o'clock. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hinton, second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?